Hello everybody, this is Mr. Bowman. So today we're going to be looking at the 1.9 handout, and this is a longer one, so to try and help with the different questions, we're actually going to break this into a couple pieces. So we're going to put each question on a slightly different video to keep them a little bit shorter. So question 1 has a few parts here, but there are 4 questions overall on the homework, so we'll just try and speed it up that way for you. All right, so we're looking at a recent study by the National Center for Education Statistics, asked students about how frequently they experience cyberbullying. 1,000 students in each grade range were surveyed, so the grade ranges being primary, middle, and high school. The responses are displayed in the contingency table below. So we're going to use that information to answer the 7 questions about that table. So what is the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey was in middle school? So we're looking for how many students are in middle school divided by how many people took the survey. So there are 1,000 total middle schoolers divided by my 3,000. And that, if you want to reduce, it breaks down to 1/3 or a 33-ish. We'll go ahead and round it. Percent probability. Okay. What's the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey was in high school and experienced cyberbullying at least once a week? So that and is going to be important because it means we're not using the totals anymore. So we're going to need to figure out how many are in high school and experience cyberbullying at least once a week. So that's this one. So there's 259 here, but it's still off the entire survey. So of 3,000. So we'll just go ahead and divide that quickly. And we get approximately 8.63%. All right, moving down. What is the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey was in primary school, so elementary school, or experienced cyberbullying less than once a week? So this or is important as well. It's the kind of the counterpart to that and. So how many do we have in primary school or experience cyberbullying less than once a week? So this is a couple ways you can do this one. So you can either count up all the ones that apply there. So we could add up 42 plus 958 plus 754 plus 741. Or I'm going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to add up the totals. So there are 1,000 students in the primary grades. I'm going to add that to cyberbullying less than once a week. Okay, but that counts our overlap twice, so I'm going to subtract that overlap off. So I counted that 958 in my 1,000 and in my 2443. So I have to take one of those off so I don't count those students twice. So I have 1,000 plus 2443 minus 958 for a total of 2485. And this is still selected from the survey, so still out of the entire survey. So divide that by 3,000 to get my probability. And I get a probability of approximately 82.83%. Okay. All right. What is the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey was in middle school given that they, so that's my keyword here, that they experienced cyberbullying at least once a week? So when it says given, I'm no longer using the entire survey, I'm using the second part. So I only care about the ones that experience cyberbullying at least once a week. So I'm limiting myself now to this column. So what's the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey was in middle school given this? So I'm going to say what's the probability they're in middle school based on this column. So in this column, the middle schoolers are 256 divided by the total for this column, which is 557. Okay. Throw that in my calculator and I get 45.96%. All right, and on my second sheet, I have another couple questions. So what is the probability that a randomly selected student who responded to the survey experienced cyberbullying at least once per week, once again given that they were in high school? Okay, so coming back, I'm only focusing on the high schoolers now, so I'm using this row, and the cyberbullying at least once a week is the first part, so that's 259. divided by the total number of high schoolers, which was, nope, yeah, total number of high schoolers, which is 1,000. Okay. So 259 divided by 1,000, that's just a simple move the decimal place. So we end up with 25.9%. All right, now a little more open-ended. Examine the survey results displayed in the table. What conclusions can you draw about cyberbullying? So looking at this, there are a couple ways you could take this, but you can talk about how many, if we're talking about these ones, are more likely, then you could say that there's 557 divided by 3,000, right? How many people were cyberbullied at least once a week? So you could say it's pretty common that about 18.5 or about 20% of the students are bullied at least once a week. So you can say it's pretty prevalent. So there's a lot of conclusions you can say here. This one's pretty open-ended. What questions about cyberbullying do the results of the survey not address? Also pretty open-ended. These are kind of analysis questions. But one thing you could say is it never says how many people don't think they're cyberbullied. It's assuming it happens. You could say it needs to be broken down a little bit more. Maybe you think the high schoolers, it'd be more helpful if it was broken down by upperclassmen and underclassmen, or maybe primary grades should not be in there for they don't usually have phones or things like that. But however you want to do that, just what things do you think they not address? What could they do a little bit differently? So these are a little more open-ended, and you can write whatever you think is necessary there.